some nonprofits to be able to.
Yeah.
And so I talked to George hosts not like a round table, but it's like a gathering, a meet and greet networking thing for all the nonprofits. And he doesn't do them all at one time. He'll take a section and a section.
The science.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So, anyways, I mentioned it there.
What does it do? Just
Connect to
continue.
Wi-Fi. Yeah, it'll take all your information. It won't ring.
Okay.
It's 8 o'clock.
There we go.
It's a functional do not disturb.
Yeah. Always. Deep.
We'll do our best.
Tested it.
Made sure I brought 2 things here.
I got a spare in the car. I heard my name. I heard my name. Nothing. I heard my name.
All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. All right, beginning with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First thing, roll call. Robert Bramlett. Present. Wayne Clyde.
Here.
Kenneth Jones.
Here.
I'm here. Edith Ramlow is not here yet. Traffic was pretty nasty, as it usually is. Lorraine Benefield.
Here.
Burke Reagan.
Here.
Lenora Nelson. And Mary Elaine Ebitz is not here as well. Maybe they'll walk in here in just a few minutes. Okay? All right, next up on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from last meeting, February 27th. Everyone get those in their email? Everyone else? Okay. Are there any changes that anyone would like to make?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. Okay, I'm going to ask one thing. I'm going to pull forward one item if possible. I'm going to request that we pull forward one item. And that is actually H1 in new business with Mr. Johnny Cash from the U.S. Family Foundation. I'd like to pull that just in front of open to the public, which is item number C. And the reason why is Mr. Cash is here. Basically, he does us a great favor by being here, and he is a busy man involved in a lot of things, and it is important that we want everyone to hear what he has to say about the U.S. Family Foundation, specifically how it pertains to the Library Advisory Board. And so would it be appropriate for a motion to move that forward?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. With that being said, Mr. Cash, you're up.
Okay, all right. My hero. All right, I did put together a very short presentation because we are talking about accounting and I don't want heads to hit the table. So this will be very brief, and it's just a big white button. Okay. All right, they made this easy for me. Adam wanted me to come out. I believe I understand there's probably some new advisory board members, and you get these quarterly reports, and you're like, who in the world is this U.S. Family Foundation? What is this money here for? How did it get there? So I'm here to try to answer those questions for you with just a little short history about what I call the Partnership Fund. You can see that the name of the fund that the library district started with U.S. Family Foundation is called the Foundation for the Citrus County Special Library District Partnership Fund. So that's why I'm shortening it. It's just a partnership fund, and partnership is the key word. So the library has partnered with the U.S. Family Foundation, and it started many years ago through the Love Your Library event. And so, but first and foremost, who am I? Who is the U.S. Family Foundation? So the U.S. Family Foundation is a public charity. We're a Florida corporation. We operate as a donor-advised fund. So I don't know if anyone has heard that term. It has special provisions in the tax code where donors can put money into an account that belongs to the fund, and then they can later make charitable bequests. So a lot of people do this at the end of the year. They're like, I want to be charitable, but I don't know who to give to. They can put the money in their donor advised fund, and then they can make those decisions later. But we have a special emphasis as the U.S. Family Foundation. We want to create permanent endowments, lasting legacies for our donors. So we do have some donors who operate kind of how I just explained, but most of our donors want to set up a lasting legacy. So because they understand it's one thing to give $1 million to your favorite charity when you pass, but it's something quite different to put $1 million in a fund that's always going to be there forever, that's going to grow, and so that $1 million can be $10 million over time for your favorite charity. So now so we actually have about 25 different foundations. So we have 25 individuals who either currently or at their death said, listen, I want to set up a lasting legacy. I have these particular charities, and you'll see in a little bit that you guys are beneficiaries of at least a couple of our foundations. But we have 25 to 30 different foundations underneath our umbrella. We currently have about $28 million of invested assets. So those 25 to 30, the average foundation is probably about $250,000. We do have a seven-member board. We are audited every year by one of the largest firms in the Southeast, Carr, Riggs & Ingram. Some of our board members you probably have heard of. Jewel Lamb is a member of our board. Jerry Mulligan, former publisher of the Chronicle, is on our board. So that's a little bit about who we are. So just a little bit of kind of the significance of what we've been able to do. Last year in 2023, we gave over $1.5 million to different charities around the country, because a lot of people come and they retire in Florida, and they have charities back home that they really believe in. And so we actually give to probably over 140 different charities around the country. And so in 2023, over 1.5 million. Almost 700,000 of that was right here in Citrus County. So we're very much a local community foundation. And so we get involved in lots of different things that happen in the community. So when COVID hit and children were having to remote learn and they didn't have modems at their house, they didn't have internet access, we helped fund through the Education Foundation routers so that the kids could actually remote learn. So we try to be involved in the community. Of the 700,000 that went to Citrus County Charities, 57,000 of that came right to the fund that you guys established many years ago. The biggest benefactor for you guys, and if anyone's been part of the library system for any number of years, you'll remember Admiral Ren Renfro. He's the one who started the application process, and at his death, unfortunately, the library is a big benefactor of his foundation. So $50,000 of the $57,000 that you guys received this past year was from Admiral Renfro. So he was a big supporter, big lover of the library. And then there's another foundation, the Palo Alto Foundation, provided $7,100. So probably over the last 2 years, over $100,000 has come to the partnership fund through the U.S. Family Foundation. And since we've been in existence, we've given over $18 million to charity. So we're pretty proud of that. That's, as an accountant, that's one of the exciting parts of my job is actually meeting with charities and providing funding for them to do the great things that they're doing here in Citrus County. So then this partnership fund was actually formed in 2001. I mentioned Admiral Renfro again. He's the one who actually signed the application. There was a memo of understanding with the Board of County Commissioners, so this was done in full approval of not just the advisory board of the library, but also the Board of County Commissioners. And of course, its purpose is in the name. It's for the express benefit of the library. And something that you guys got to see this past year is really what the idea behind this whole thing was, is we want to have a place where we do fundraisers. We want to have a place where we can put the money, and then when we need it, we want to be able to have access to those funds. And last year, if you remember, for those of you who were on the board last year, I believe it was the Inverness Library was in need of substantial improvements. And so we were able to provide, at your direction, $300,000. So didn't have to go through any appropriations, didn't have to go through the board. That money was there, it's yours, and you were able to make those improvements. As of the end of 2023, your fund actually has just over $530,000 in there. The initial funding for this partnership fund was the annual Love Your Library event. That's how a lot of the funding occurred over the years until the passing of Ms. Palawota and Admiral Renfro. So there's really three primary sources of funding. I was only able to go back, our current system would only let me go back to 2012. So if I look at 2012 through the end of last year, again, there's three primary sources. The Love Your Library event, which was the initial funding source and was the continual funding source for a number of years. So since that time, has provided over $230,000 to the fund. And then with the passing of Ms. Palawota and Admiral Renfro, their foundations have collectively provided almost $375,000 for the express benefit and support of the library. And then the third source of funding, the funds that we have, I'm not managing the funds. Those funds are professionally managed by Edward Jones Trust Company out of St. Louis, Missouri. So they're managing those assets, they're investing the assets. Your fund is pooled with the other foundations, and they're managing that money for us. So your net investment return, so that's interest, capital gains, dividends, minus any management fees and the investment fees. So the net investment returns have been about $238,000 over time. So that's the three ways that this fund continues to grow. Of course, the Love Your Library event, that hasn't happened in a number of years, but the funding source is there, and so now these foundations have actually kind of taken over and been the primary source of funding. And as long as the investments grow, every year there's going to be a provision for the library. Now, we talk about as the investments grow, 2022 there actually were no distributions, so there was no allocation to the library because the investments actually went down in value. But then in 2023 things turned around, and so we were able to provide funding. So as long as the investments continue to grow, every year there's going to be a funding from Admiral Renfro and Ms. Palawota. And so that's actually now overtaken the Love Your Library event as the primary source of funding going forward. So, and that's really it. I didn't want to take too much of your time, but that's who we are. That's who you guys are partnering with to raise money and support the library and do the wonderful things that you guys are doing. So we do appreciate the partnership and feel like it's been mutually beneficial, but especially for you guys and for the library to be able to take and say, hey, we've got $300,000 that we need to be able to make these improvements. And I know there's other locations that are kind of coming up that might need some substantial improvements. That's why this fund was created, so that money would be there when these things happen. And so you guys actually saw it. I mean, this thing was created back in 2001, and you actually saw the fruition of that dream last year. So it's a beautiful thing. Do you guys have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
I was involved with a police pension fund, about $17 billion, and by state statute, there were limits on how much could be invested in equities versus fixed income. Are there certain types of restrictions set by state statute or?
Not for us, because yeah, that's a creature of state statute. I know in Florida, it used to be funded through insurance, part of the insurance premiums that people pay. But no, we have a stated investment policy that we drafted with Edward Jones. So we are actually heavy in equities because we have a perpetual life. I mean, this foundation will be here long after I'm no longer here. And so what that allows us to do is in these years where the market has gone way up, you know, we're given anywhere from $1.5 to $3 million away. And then, of course, when the market does what it does and it goes down, then sometimes we have to pull back. But over time, it's allowed us to grow the foundation and give significant dollars, which is kind of what the donors wanted us to do. They didn't want us to sit on the money. They want us to help it grow and then fund those charities. But we have no state statute that mandates how much we can or what we can invest in or what we cannot invest in.
Do you invest in foreign companies?
There's probably some, but it's a very minor part of our portfolio. But that's the professional money managers. But it's 80% equity. So we're heavy in the stock market. We don't buy a lot of bonds. We don't buy money market funds because we're one of the foundations to grow, because that's what we give off of is the growth. Every year when the investments grow, we distribute 80% of that growth to the charities that the people pick, and then we retain 20% to allow their foundation to continue to grow over time.
Other than
So-
the Edward Jones fees, how many other fees are there?
There's a between Edward Jones and the U.S. Family Foundation charges a 1% fee, and then Edward Jones charges 0.6%. So 1.6 is the fee.
Is the 0.6 a function of the principal in the?
It's
fund?
it's the invested assets.
Okay.
Right. And we looked at this year after year, the interest that's being paid off of the investments is covering the 1.6%. So the fees never hit principal. There's enough income being generated. In fact, there's enough income being generated to cover the fees, plus then add to the particular foundation. So that's a great question. Yeah.
I have two things.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you state your name again, please?
Jonathan Cash, Johnny for short.
And can we get a copy of this emailed to us? of
Yeah,
this
there
presentation?
is a thumb drive that I was provided. Your thumb drive, your IT person. So it's on there. So I'm sure she can provide it.
I can get that for you.
Thank you.
Actually, I did email it to Adam this morning. He probably hadn't seen it because it was way early, but so he could also forward that email as well. Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Cash.
Okay. All right,
you. Have a
guys.
great
Thank
day.
you very much. You too.
Now, later on, I'm not going to push for movement of the other new business items, but later on, keep all of that in your file when we come back to new business, okay? All right, excuse me. So we're gonna move on to open to the public. I do wanna give just a couple little house cleaning items on open to the public. First of all, number one, you have to register with one of these nice little green cards. Taylor will help you with that. When you get up to the podium, please state your name and where you're from, as in where you live currently, not where you're from. Everyone will have 3 minutes. We are keeping time. We will cut you off. So everyone will have 3 minutes. The next thing is I would ask, one of the things that, I appreciate privileged speech. I think that's an important part of what we get to do on a regular basis. What I would ask you to do is everyone, when the person is up here at the podium and when they leave the podium, let's refrain from applauding, cheering, all of that stuff. Let's keep this room in decorum and make sure that we have a place that we can speak freely. All right? Anyone got any speak? You got to come up here if you'd like to speak.
How do I get a green card to register to speak? Okay, thank you.
State your name.
Dr. Bruce Bryn, 138 Daisy Street, Homosassa. I'm in Sugar Mill Woods, Bryn, as it's spelled. I'm here to discuss the library policy, specifically policy 12 and 14. It adapts the guidelines for the ALA. I thought we dealt with this ALA crap already, but it looks like it's come back again. Which has a record of aggressively promoting LGBT materials and events targeting children in the libraries, including drag queen story hours. This is a backdoor to sneaking in LGBT back into the library. And on policy 12, the collection development we'd like for you to strike paragraph 2, including the 5 bullets which adopt supporting documents from the ALA. And on policy 14, under selection of displays and new paragraph added, displays shall not violate community standards and shall be no displays of sexual orientation or gender identity. And when we pledged allegiance to the flag this morning, we said, under God. None of this stuff is under God. This is an immoral situation that is invading all the communities in Florida. So we want to make a great start, like we did earlier, with cutting ties with the ALA, and remove the ALA from our library policies. So we're specifically after the policies. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. I represent, we have 64 people with the Republican Liberty Caucus. I'm the chairman of the Liberty Caucus here in Citrus County, and we have emails of over 480 people on emails that we direct all this information to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brennan. Anyone else? Come forward. And actually, if you'd like to speak, you could probably just line up right over here on this wall, and that way we know.
Yeah, good morning. My name is John Labriola, and I'm here to also discuss the library policies. I've got some copies here for the members. If you could just, if you could pass that, thank you. So anyway, I'm sorry, I've got a couple more here. So anyway, I wanted to discuss the 2 policies that were already discussed by the last speaker. That's policy 12 and policy 14. Policy 12 was adopted prior to Citrus County cutting ties with the ALA. And what that does, policy 12 actually has bullet points you can see on the paper. The first page, the blue, are bullet points to ALA policies that were adopted by incorporation into the library policy for Citrus County. And if you just go down, if you actually were to click these, go on your website and click these from the policy 12, it actually takes you to within a couple of bullets from Drag Queen Story Hour. So the ALA's website encourages libraries to celebrate LGBT Pride Month and Rainbow Book Month and provides recommended LGBT reading lists for children as young as 3 months, including such titles as Bye Bye Binary for ages 3 months and up, which encourages non-binary language to be used to children. 2 Grooms on a Cake for ages 6 through 9, which celebrates same-sex marriage, and The True Story of a Boy Named Penelope for ages 4 through 8, which celebrates transgenderism in children. So this is a very, obviously this policy was adopted prior to the library system pulling out of ALA, but I think it's important that we address it now. There was no discussion on this item when it came up before the Library Advisory Board last year, and there was no vote, and there was kind of a misperception on the part of the County Commission when it came to them afterwards that there had been a vote and there hadn't been. And so this is an important policy to address, and we would ask you please to remove this policy from this part of the policy from the library policies by removing those sections of libraries and American value, libraries Bill of Rights, freedom to read statement, freedom to view statement, and the code of ethics. So, and in addition to that, if you would add to policy 14, under the section selection of displays, a new paragraph stating displays shall not violate community standards, and there shall be no displays of sexual orientation or gender identity. Again, we would appreciate you taking care of this issue, because regardless of who shows up at these meetings, we know that our community is a very conservative community, and that our community should reflect community values.
Thank you, Mr. Lavery.
Good morning. My name is Lil Gilbert. I live in Inverness, and I've been a full-time Citrus County resident since 1971. My family and friends have been utilizing the library services for 50 years. At no time have we ever been concerned about the material or the displays. If we are uninterested in a particular book, we just don't check it out. If we're uninterested in a display, we continue past them. In the past, I have volunteered as an instructor in adult literacy and read to children at the library. My son practiced reading and did school research at the library. I took my grandchildren to the library and participated in their story hours. The books were chosen by the library for their age group. I had no qualms about the books that were chosen by the library. I knew that they would not choose anything that was inappropriate. I had heard of Drag Queen Story Hour and other places, but to my knowledge, Citrus County does not participate or advocate for them. If they did, I'm confident that the library would choose age-appropriate books as always, and that the Drag Queen volunteer readers would dress and speak appropriately as well. Each individual parent can and does decide what they want their own child to read. It is not up to you or to me to make that decision for them. If I don't think a book is appropriate for myself, my child, or my grandchildren, we just don't read it. The first modern public library was opened in 1833 in Peterborough, New Hampshire. It was the first institution funded by a municipality with the goal of establishing a free library open to all classes of the community. The goal was to organize information, making access to the arts, sciences, religion, and history readily accessible for scholars and the general reader. Public libraries are places of community involvement. The community looks to its public library as a central location for access to reading materials, research and reference assistance, and community engagement. Without libraries and librarians, we would have an ignorant, closed-minded community. I and my family do not want anyone to tell us what we can and cannot read. Regarding the ALA, it has been around since the late 1800s, and thousands of libraries belong to it. The ALA assists and promotes libraries in helping children and adults develop the skills they need, including the ability to read and use technology, understanding that the ability to seek and effectively utilize information resources is essential in a global information society. What could possibly be wrong with that? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. My name is Nena Osorio. I live in Homosassa. I'm a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 1. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. As we consider changes in our library's policies, it's crucial to understand that any action based on vague notations of community standards might lead us to constitutional trouble, particularly regarding the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. The 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law for all citizens, not just conservatives. Any policy changes that restrict library content, displays, or programming based on sexual orientation or gender identity could be perceived as discriminatory and open the doors to legal challenges. Public libraries serve the entire community, regardless of background, beliefs, or identity. When we define community standards in a way that targets specific groups, we are walking on thin ice. Consider what happens when community standards become a guiding principle without clear boundaries. It's a subjective term. What one group considers acceptable might be offensive to another. By basing policies on this term, we risk uneven enforcement and worse, discrimination. If these policies disproportionately affect certain groups, they can violate the Equal Protection Clause, leading to costly legal battles. Moreover, the term community standards could be used to justify policies that exclude rather than include. Libraries should be places for learning and growth for everyone. Restricting displays or programs based on sexual or gender identity sends a message of exclusion, potentially alienating members of our own community. This kind of policy can deepen divisions and undermine the library's role as a unifying force. We must also consider the broader impact on the reputation of our community. Any perceived discrimination can lead to negative media attention and diminish the library's credibility. Our community should be seen as a place that upholds constitutional values, including the right to equal treatment. Mr. Chair, and everyone of the board, these people claim to protect our children, but to be honest, I have to protect my children from them. I have a lesbian daughter and a non-binary child as well. They are being affected by this as well as anybody. Outside those doors, there's a sign that says equality, or I'm sorry, give me just a second here.
Your time has expired.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Sorry, my name is Bud Hurley. I live in Beverly Hills.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Bud Hurley from Beverly Hills. I hadn't planned on speaking today, but I just kind of got prodded. My understanding is that the libraries are a repository of our knowledge, all of it, from day one, world over. That needs to be available to everyone. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. We don't know good unless we know what bad is. What we really need is some sort of a board that oversees the books that goes into the library. Anybody thought of one of those? We have that choice, or we have a choice, some sort of splinter group of cult members who are hiding behind a Christian cross and have no idea what it even means. So my only thing is, we have a library, it's run by professional people, and it needs to be open and open to anybody. If you don't like a book, don't read it. I'm repeating what things you just said. You want the library to raise your kids? That's your job. You tell them what to read and what not to read. But end of statement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning,
Good morning.
and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Dennis Peretz. I'm a full-time resident of Citrus County, not a paid lobbyist or a non-resident of Citrus County. When books and displays are banned, you are banning the right of free speech and the press. Banning of books and their displays restrict the intellectual and emotional growth of children and adults. It stifles critical thinking, emotional development, and empathy. Kids need guidance, not empathy, not censure. Banning books is banning freedom. Book bans do not protect children, they limit learning. Banning books is canceling the rights of all patrons. Florida state legislature's constantly addition of books to be added to the banning list within the schools makes it more important that no books or media be banned from our public libraries for all the public to enjoy. Regardless of religion or who you choose to love or your cultural beliefs, it is up to the public to choose what they want to read. Florida is one of the most banned books list in the country. This fact is not something to be proud of. In closing, I ask you to keep all community members in mind when making your decisions on what is available, and everyone not to select few pushing their conservative ideals. My standards is one of acceptance and learning about all cultures, family ideals, religions, and histories. Please reconsider rejoining the American Library Association. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett.
Good morning. I'm Deb Daniels. I'm a retired Citrus County English Reading and Language Arts teacher. I'm here to support our library and our librarians. The mission of the public library is to provide free and open access to a broad range of materials and services to people of all ages and all backgrounds. And we thank you for your volunteering to this board to do just that. The American Library Association is the oldest and largest library association in the world, founded in 1876. It promotes intellectual freedom, equal access to books. It advocates on behalf of libraries for adequate funding, and it provides training to our librarians and helps with grants. We have a small radical group of extremists continuing and led by an anti-LGBTQ activist who continues to try to divide our community. They display some irrational fear or some aversion to homosexuality in our LGBTQ community. They advocate for discrimination against them. They call our teachers and our librarians groomers and accuse them without proof of indoctrination of our youth. They are now advocating erasing all ties with the ALA by erasing policy language. But there's little connection between Mr. Labriola's claims and what the ALA actually does every day. And library displays are one of the most passive ways to draw attention to materials in our libraries, and we've been doing it for many, many years. The materials are simply existing for library users to use and take if they are interested or not. What may be unacceptable to one family is acceptance in another. We should give all the freedom to read or ignore books in our library. Please do not allow this small radical group of extremists to impose a political agenda on this board and our community. There's no need for the two changes advocated by Mr. Labriola. Thank you, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Mrs. Daniels. Next.
Good morning. My name is Susan Booton. I live in Citrus Hills. I've been attending the library meetings, and I applaud the programs that the library has in place to encourage kids to read. Recently, book subjects have become controversial, and they are being banned from schools and libraries. But who has the right to determine what my child can read or cannot read? Parents should monitor their children's reading material, not anyone else. If I read a book about Lizzie Borden or Bonnie and Clyde, doesn't mean that I'm going to go out and murder with an axe or rob banks. Information educates, not indoctrinates. Let's not close minds, but open them up. Let's tolerate the different cultures, religions, lifestyles, and let parents decide what their children are allowed to read. We are lucky to live in the U.S., where we have the freedom to make our own decisions for ourselves and our families. Our veterans fought to protect these liberties. Don't take that fundamental right away from us. This is something very personal for me because I am the wife and daughter of a veteran. In closing, I just want to remind you what the definition of censorship. Censorship is the suppression of content or ideas, and it happens when one group imposes their beliefs on others. Banning books is a type of censorship. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Bradley Van Benschoten. I live in Inverness. I've lived in Citrus County for over 20 years. I was raised here. And I'm just here to speak in support of the libraries and to say that I don't think that a small fringe group of religious extremists should be bullying the library board into censoring books. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Well, I'm Mark Conley. I live in Hernando. I've lived in Citrus County for more than 7 years, and I'm here to speak about the issues of the library policy. I want to preface my remarks by objecting to the false allegations that many of the speakers have said about banning books or censoring. The position that I have, as the position that John Labriola now enunciated earlier, is not about censoring or banning books. In 2022, when the library board adopted the current policy, the library board was a member of the American Library Association. We're no longer a member of the American Library Association. And I think that the provisions in particularly in Policy 12 that that have links to various parts of the American Library Association website, which promote specific ideologies and the like, should be deleted from the current policy because they no longer reflect the community values that we have, but rather reflect an ideology that's promoted by the American Library Association. I'm not disputing the venerability of the American Library Association, but I think that it's trended in certain ideological directions which are inconsistent with the community values of our community. The other thing is Policy 14 addresses the placement of displays in the libraries, and I wanted to suggest that the library board adopt the views that Commissioner Kitchen enunciated a couple of years ago about to add a provision which says that library displays should reflect community values, and no library displays should be put up with the specific purpose of promoting various gender identity and particular ideologies about gender, such as gay pride. Thank you very much for letting me speak, and I hope that you will consider my suggestions as well as the suggestions of a number of the other people who are open-minded and not objecting to the views of others and branding them as censors.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
book
Conley.
banners.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rick Matherson. I'm from Hernando, Florida. I agree with everything that Mark Connolly just said, as well as Doc and John Labriola. You got to ask the question, why are some folks adamant about targeting children with pornography? I mean, you could say you read whatever you want, but used to be we had standards that you wouldn't find that in a library. So, you know, you can get whatever books you want. You can do interlibrary loans. You can order them online. You don't need to have it out there for the kids. It's all about the kids. I don't care what adults do. And then somebody mentioned that they were the wife of a veteran. Well, I'm a son of a veteran, a grandson of a veteran, a cousin of a veteran, so whatever. So anyway, thank you, and please make the changes to policy 12 and 14. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Matthew Suzuki. I live in Heatherwood, Inverness. I've been here for over 25 years. I'm not with any groups. I'm just an individual. I am gay. I have been gay for 66 years. I knew at 8 years old that there was something different about me, that things weren't feeling the same. Now, I wish I had a library that gave me a little help and guidance, because the people are afraid. And to be afraid of someone who is living the life God chose for them doesn't make sense to me. You're trying to say God makes mistakes, and I don't understand that. But I also don't understand community is respect for each other. And I'm seeing a lot of disrespect for other people, which seems to be contrary to community values. I've been with the Saved Man for over 38 years. I'm no pedophile, and I didn't, when I was a teenager sit down and say, let's see, gay, straight, or bi, which is my choice? It wasn't a choice. And people that know me like me because I'm an honest, decent human being. When I was 8, I knew this. Before I was a teenager, I knew I was gay. Now, I don't understand why people hate me for that, and I don't understand why people don't know that children are inquisitive, and there are children that were like me, that were gay. And to be shut down and thrown in a corner and say, shut up, we don't like you, we don't want anything to do with you, is something that I can't understand. It hurts my heart to think that people can feel this way and do things like that to other human beings. But I enjoy the library, and I hope that people continue to enjoy the library and have access to whatever it is that interests them and moves them, because that's what libraries are for, everyone.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is April Winook, and I'm from Hernando, Florida. I've been here for a long time. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, and I've been a long-time nurse. I'm here to discuss the library policy concerning policy 12 and 14 as well. And those policies were made a year before we decided to vote out the ALA. And I agree with John that we need to make these changes to these policies to keep in alignment with what was recently voted on. What I wanted to also say is, working in the work world, I have worked with all kinds of people. Some of my most dear peers that I worked with were of the gay agenda. And I think it's an individual decision to be open and to love people, and that's always been what I've stood by. However, I feel that this ALA does have sites that do take you to show you what their agenda is, and it's wrong. It's very important that we be aware of what's going on. We are here to protect our children. Some of the material that is being promoted by the ALA is pornography. These books are directed to our children. One of the books is called Gender Queer, which includes graphic depictions of teens engaging in oral sex. Lawn Boy, which depicts sex between men and children. And Beyond Magenta is another book which includes a graphic description of a 6-year-old performing oral sex on multiple men. Even an organization called Gays Against Groomers is against this movement because they see the need to protect our children. Yes, we want our children to be enriched with quality education that not only the schools but our libraries provide for these children. But this kind of material is not enriching their lives in any way. Science, math, English, reading, that enriches their lives, and it sets them and prepares them for a future with whatever they're supposed to be doing with their talents. I am here to stand against this kind of stuff. This is definitely a deception on our society. When I was in school, sex was taught at home by my mom and dad. It wasn't the responsibility of schools and libraries to educate me on sex education. And the way I learned of it was beautiful. And I still feel parents have that obligation. So I ask you to please take seriously
Thank you, Mrs.
what is
Winook.
being said.
Next.
Hello, my name is Lala Sanders, and I've lived in Inverness for 30 years. First of all, God does not make any mistakes. Let's get that straight. There's just so many things. We are not here to tell people what to do, what not to do, what to read, what not to read. But I remember over a year ago, we did fight a display at the library over Pride month. I don't know if people have forgotten that or not, but anyway, we talk about discrimination. Being discriminated against me and those that love the Lord is a discrimination. You want to hide the Bible in the library and expose guilty pleasures. Pleasures come in many, many different forms. And practicing, I know the truth is the truth. You know, we can be discriminated against. People can go sue over that. But I came basically, from what I heard, I'm defending my right as a conservative that loves the Lord. As far as the ALA, I think that right now you need to consider removing the policy 12 and 14. On policy 12, under collection development, strike paragraph 2, including the 5 bullets which adopt supporting documents of the American Library Association. On policy 14, under selection of displays, add a new paragraph. Displays shall not violate community standards, and there shall be no displays of sexual orientation or gender identity. None of us like to keep coming back for the same issues, or we ever want to hear about them again. So please consider removing those policies now, and may your focus always be on protecting our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. My name is Dean Bales. I live in Homosassa Springs, and you know, say if you have a problem with your car where the tires are going bad, well, you got to fix the initial problem, which might be that your car is out of alignment. You got to go back and, you know, get to the origin of things. And we need to get to the origin of the American Library Association's current state of corruption and other people who are like-minded, and vanquish every last bit of what they stand for currently until they straighten up their act. If you notice one thing about these people, I've noticed decades ago, I wrote a manuscript back when I finished in 1996, that these people who are so much supposedly against censorship only come out of the woodwork when they're defending perversion. Then suddenly when their own ilk are censoring massive amounts of information, as they currently are, because there's, you know, cases coming up before the Supreme Court about censorship using you know, big tech and such like that. I mean, they are operating on a industrial scale, and yet you don't hear them step out of the woodwork and say censorship is terrible. Don't you tell me what I need to see and so forth like that. Now suddenly now they're all coming up and they're defending these books, which may not be in the library currently, but, you know, being prudent, we know what's coming. They all think alike. You know, they parrot the same thing. We're extremists. Don't tell me what to think, say, and do, but yet they're the ones telling other people what to think, say, and do, or showing support behind the scenes. Decades ago, a lot of the people who were pro-communist never packaged themselves as pro-communist, but yet they were anti-communist. Well, these people are not pro-pornography openly, but yet they are anti-pornography. You notice that? And they accuse us of what they are guilty of. They accuse us of being extremists. Well, that's called projection, where a person accuses someone else of what they themselves are guilty of. So what Mr. Labriola is proposing is very good. We need to go into the American Library Association's contamination of whatever institutions they have entangled themselves in, and we need to vanquish everything until they straighten up their act. And then, you know, if they get on their knees and grovel and show true repentance, then we can let them back in. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rosemary Nillis. I'm from Inverness. I've noticed many of the speakers in the room this morning who are advocating for changes to the library policy have invoked their religious beliefs, or in other meetings have publicly affiliated themselves with the Christian Family Coalition in what they believe are statements on behalf of all residents of this county. Our founders came to this continent to escape religious persecution. It's safe to say that for most of us in this room, our ancestors fled to this country to escape religious persecution. Our country's founders expressly noted in the Bill of Rights that we do not establish a religion. We need only to look to the Middle East to see what happens when religion and government are intertwined. I happen to have been raised as a Christian. I call myself a Christian. But when I hear words of hate and mistruth spoken here in Citrus County, meeting after meeting, in the name of Christianity, I do not recognize any of the teachings of Christ. Let's keep in mind that our country was founded on principles of freedom without favor, equality without exception, for all, and that means all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Lori Pettengill, and I'm from beautiful Homosassa Springs. I'm here in support of the changes to the policies. I think that the ALA is a tyrannical organization. It has become more and more tyrannical. It is not the ALA of our grandparents, believe you me. I went on the ALA site last night. Their main goal right now is to protect people, from book bans, and they are not serving our county, that's for sure, because they want to make sure that if anybody is having problems with book bans in their community, that they will come up with the money and the power to help these communities. And I think that takes away the power of the community to make the decision on whatever books they want to have. And I think that that's a very evil format. It supports litigation. So the books that they have on the ALA website says these are the 10 books, and they missed Lawn Boy. I couldn't believe it. Genderqueer, Reason, sexually explicit. All Boys Aren't Blue, sexually explicit. This book is gay, sexually explicit. The Perk of Being a Wallflower, sexually explicit. Rape, Drugs, Profanity. Flamer, sexually explicit. The Bluest Eye, sexually explicit. Tricks, sexually explicit. Rape, LGBTQIA. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, sexually explicit and profanity. Let's talk about it, LGBTQ ed. Sold, sexually explicit and rape. These are the books that they want to protect the libraries from being banned. These are our children. These are our very confused children in this day and age because of what they are seeing on their phones, on their computers, John and I went and spoke in the Capitol about this transgender surgeries. These kids need just to be stop having this stuff thrown at them. Let them be children. Let them be safe. Let them keep them. This is about keeping children safe. That's what this is about. We want the ALA gone. It is just a tool of the Human Rights Campaign, and the Human Rights Campaign is the enemy of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And no clapping, please. Thank you.
Good morning. Kathy Gates, Inverness, Florida. I have lived here in this county since 1985. On the website, Best Places, you can find a description of the demographics in Citrus County. It states that Citrus County, Florida is home to a diverse range of local religious congregations, from large bustling churches in the heart of Inverness to small cottage chapels in the backwoods of Crystal River. There are plenty of places to go for spiritual sustenance and solace. As I read further, I was absolutely surprised to see that only 30.7% of the people in this county even consider themselves religious, and that includes all of the religions. So we're looking at less than 1/3 of the population, a minority. So I'm tired of attending government readings where speakers are attempting to make everyone believe that this is an overly conservative Christian county. We have the right in this country to belong to any religion of our choice or none at all. Your religion's none of my business, and I certainly will never impose mine on you. In fact, the state of Florida is only 39.7 declared religious. Just because we have a paid lobbyist who constantly promotes this intrusion does not make the verbiage true. We have an excellent library system, and let's stick to business. As you can read across the papers, that we can't get teachers anymore because of this intrusion and this harassment. No one is trying to ruin kids in the schools, and no one is trying to, in the library system, ruin children. So let's stick to business. Let's remember, only 30.7% in this county, a minority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gates.
Good morning. My name is Carol Roberts. I live in Inverness, Florida, with my husband. I would like to tell you that I've been involved with, I'm 81 years old. I've been involved with libraries for 70 years. And I had my first library on my porch in Vermont when I was 9 years old because I wanted to make sure that all the children in my neighborhood had enough books. I had a lot of books in my home because of what my home was like. And I wanted to be sure everybody had a chance. And I had my own due date slips, and I charged my neighbors money if they were late. I don't think we do that here. But I want to thank you all for being here and not making light of the situation. I want just you to understand that the love of reading and the love of sharing the love goes deep for a lot of us. And thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you for working on this really unbelievable situation that's going on in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up. It came unplugged.
The XLR fell out. You broke the mic. Would you say your name again? I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
Formsma. Everything I've seen on the American Library Association it's just so extreme. And I just want to commend the board for separating ourselves from that association. And we'll continue to do everything we can to just step as far away as we can from the ideas of the American Library Association.
Thank you. Next.
Yeah, my name is John Gattone. I live in Lecanto. I've been here 8 years, and what I'm seeing in this county is destroying our children. I mean, when I was a youngster, you left school, you went to the library to do research for science, math, history, all like that. We didn't even have explicit books in the library at that point. I mean, you didn't have a Playboy book in there or that kind of stuff to ruin children's minds, you know. If they wanted to read that, they read at home, behind closed doors. But what's going on today with this ALA, it's just a way to sneak in like they're saying. I mean, look at this country, this world today. It's fighting evil. It really is. And all this stuff is coming across our border, and it's just trafficking children. It's a disgrace. So I hope the board reconsiders about this ALA, this backdoor way of sneaking in stuff that's explicit for our children. I have children, I have grandchildren, and I wouldn't have them reading this stuff. So consider this 12 and 14 to reconsider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bob Bass. I live in Hernando. I just find this very appalling that everybody seems to be afraid of change. This is the way our world is today. We have our LGBTQ community. It's here to stay. It's not going to go away. These books are going to be found on the internet. We'll never be able to stop it. Why not include everybody? That is what we're supposed to be, a society that includes all people regardless of race, creed, color, national origin. We should be working together. Show some kindness in this world instead of always being hatred. And I'm sick of hearing all this time, well, this has to be stopped, this has to be stopped. Well, why don't we try to work together and come up with something that will be wonderful for all of us? Is the next thing that's going to be banned, I'm sorry to pick on you, Mr. Chairman, but are beards going to be the next thing that's going to be banned? I mean, just think about it for a second. Everything seems to be starting to end up, let's not do this, let's not do this, let's not do that. So that's the next thing that happens is that men cannot wear beards. Women cannot wear long hair. Where is it going to end? We need to include the entire country. And, it should allow us to read what we want to read. If a parent doesn't want their child to read book A, why not have the section in the library that requires a parent's signature to have that book read by their child? We shouldn't be taking books away. We should continue to allow everybody to have an open mind and explore their mind and do what they feel is right for themselves. We should not be saying no to everything. We should allow the parents to say, I don't have a problem having XYZ book in the library. My child can read it. The other parent says, I don't want my child to read it. Fine. Like I said, have them in different segments or different sections of the library where people can choose what they want to read. Thank you very much for your time and have a good day.
Thank you.
My name is Kathleen Tybus from Beverly Hills. I am first and foremost a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother with great joy. I've worked with children all my life. Since 16 years old, I began working with children, and I knew that was what I wanted to do and be. I have a strong love for children. And I had in mind some things to say. I've been listening to this. There are arguments on both sides that are good. But when we consider the formative mind of a very young child and what is happening today, there is indoctrination going on. It can't be denied. It is. And they're trying to form this child's mind very, very young for something that should be an adult decision later. And I understand the confusion of children growing up. It happens with all of them, and they need time to determine what that's going to be later. We can't dictate everything everybody does. We're not supposed to. And I don't think the arguments of John, I tend to agree with him. I know that all of our community is not conservative. We have everything. But that's not really what this is about. It's not whether you are politically conservative or liberal. It's not what your religion is necessarily. But there is a God. There is a God in heaven. There is a God who judges. And regardless of what your religion is, that is truth. And I think that we will be held very accountable for what we have done and taught and how we have raised our children. Is that my time? Oh. So as community leaders, we are responsible for much of what comes out in our libraries and in our schools, and we need to have guidelines. We do need to protect our children. This is who we need to be thinking about. We need to take it very seriously. And like I say, in time, we will answer to God
Thank you, your
for
time
what
has
we
expired.
have done and taught them.
Mrs. McLaughlin.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good to see you all. So it's very interesting April McLaughlin, I live in Pine Ridge. Been here for many years. So it's interesting, all the comments today about the American Library Association. Probably a lot of it's true. Everybody knows I'm against book banning. I'm a voracious reader, and sometimes I like to see what the other side is thinking. So I read books about things that I'm not going to be a communist or a Nazi or anything like that. The information's there. So, but really what I came today to talk about is exactly what Johnny Cash was talking about, and that's the Love Your Library event. So I'm going to change the narrative a little bit. That was excellent presentation. It's still up on there. We had 2 years of COVID, and then we had a couple of years of what one of the commissioners called the fray. And during those times, it's difficult to fundraise. We need to have positive information about our libraries. And I think overall, Citrus County has a really good feeling about our libraries, and some people have expressed that today. So what I'm asking, and I think most of the 5 Friends groups are asking, is how is this going to go? What's going to happen to Love Your Library? We were getting ready to reconstitute some type of fundraising. We took the $300,000 out, and now we need to start putting money back in. You know, the 5 libraries, okay, we're putting money into lakes, but the next library in line is going to want their piece of the pie, et cetera. And that money is important because that Love Your Library Fund allows the county to match it and get more funding. So we need to find out from you guys who's going to head it, who's going to be the liaison with the Friends groups, what's going to happen, when's it going to happen. We're really interested in the next step, and that's what I'm asking. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? All right. I don't see anyone else, so we're going to close open to public. First, I would like to say regarding the last speaker, Mrs. April, that's actually on the agenda, so we will get to that in just a moment, for sure. Let's see here. I'm trying to think. So first, we'll have a little board discussion on, give you all a moment to discuss some of the stuff if you like with regards to what the speakers just mentioned. I think a couple things need to be said. Number one, the library was not actually a member of the ALA. We were paying for a membership for the ALA. And so that is actually what we did. We struck that out of the budget item. So the library has actually not been a member of the ALA. So that is something that I know that it was thrown around both, we should be a member of the ALA, we should not be a member. We never were. We weren't. That's not what we were. So what we did was last year rather, we actually withdrew because many on the board felt that it was the direction that the ALA was going currently is not supportive of our community values currently. That's not to say that the ALA may not change. They vote that every year. They have a new president. They have new leadership. So my suggestion is maybe if you don't like what the ALA is doing, see about working with the ALA. And maybe that organization can change, and I think that would benefit everyone. The next thing I would like to say is a couple things. We have a full agenda. And as it was just mentioned, there's some very important things that we need to get to on the agenda, because we do need to start talking about money and direction for specifically coastal. Coastal is the next one up on the list to be remodeled and so on. And while I would say that I agree in part with the majority of what was said with specifically Mr. Labriola, but many others from that have shared different opinions too. You know, I think we should all have free access. I think we do want to be careful over what kids see and what's available for kids. I think that, but I feel like pretty much everybody agrees with that. You know, this was not on our agenda, and whether we agree with it or not, you know, we have to conduct business. So we cannot allow one person or even a group of people to hijack our agenda. We need to continue on with business. And so as one of the privileges of the chair, it is my privilege as to whether I entertain motions or not that are not on the agenda. So I'm just going to go on the record right away and say I'm not going to entertain any motions that were not on the agenda today. What I will say is that in a previous meeting, or in a next meeting actually, if the board would like so, and you can make that your part of your discussion in just a moment, we can set up for the director to make a presentation as to over the policies of the library. We can make as a board, because it is us that votes on this, we can make our grievances with the said policies. And then we can determine what recommendation we make to the county from that point, which that's all we do is make recommendation. We do not change policy. That is not what we do. We make recommendation. And then it is to my knowledge, that once we make that recommendation, I believe it is actually the governing board that has to meet to change this. So it's not as simple as just, that's not true?
Board of County Commissioners holds policy.
Okay.
The governing board is for the selection of us.
Got it. So there you go. So it's pretty simple. So we could set this up for next meeting, allow Director Chang to make a full presentation over the said policies, and we can, that way, look, I think we all got something to do today, okay? And we can sit here and go back and forth, and I think every speaker that spoke, I hear you, and I want you to know that we're not going to scrub this, we're not going to throw this under the rug, we're not going to do all that, but let's do it properly, okay? The next thing, and I would say this, and then I will shut up, is for this moment, is with regards to the displays. One thing I would say is I think that might be a moot point, because I believe there's a bill in the House, or whether it's in the state Senate, I can't recall, and I could be wrong on the details, but I believe there is a bill that is addressing that. So, you know, I think that might even be a moot point for us. I don't think that's even a trail that we need to go down yet. I don't know that we want to open ourselves up to any type of, you know, possible legal jeopardy or anything like that when the state may do something either. Anyways, on that. So, all right. With that being said, Mr. Bramlett, you have anything you'd like to discuss? Okay. Mrs. Clyde?
I would like to have it on the agenda and make a recommendation at that time.
And Mrs. Clyde, would you like to speak to exactly how you would like it on the agenda? I'm not saying that would be, I just want to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, I would just like to have it on the agenda so that I can, you know, pitch it to the commissioners to review and make changes as they see fit.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones?
I think we should discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay.
I think your idea is wonderful. We do need to address it and get it resolved.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Next meeting.
Okay.
I do too. I feel like we need to have time to read the policy ourselves.
I agree.
And spend some time really delving into it and thinking and researching before we make a recommendation to the county board.
I agree with that. All right. Okay.
Chair, if I may?
Yes, sir.
I heard from a couple of the board members prior to this meeting that they may be missing the next meeting. So I just
Okay.
need your direction on that, if you want me to wait till you have a full board, or if you want to, I don't know how many of you will be not
Okay.
available.
Well, that is a good point. It's middle of summer, so would August be a better idea?
August would be a lot better for me.
Okay,
I won't be at the next one.
okay. So let's just say August. That,
Okay.
I think it's safe to say we really have nothing to worry about between now and August, okay? All right. Okay. Moving on to the next item. Director Chang, I believe this is your item.
It is, yes. So at the meeting the last meeting of December, typically when we know that board members are outgoing, we do kind of recognize them for their service. In terms of this last board meeting, we had several members of board seats changed that were interested in being reappointed. They were not. So I didn't get the opportunity to thank them for their service on this board. So I wanted to bring it back to a future meeting when I hoped that they would all be available to come and at least hear me, the board, just the library staff in general, just thank them for their service. So we have a couple of them here today. So we have Neil Brennan and April McLaughlin here today. Shavonna Reed was unable to make it, but I do have a certificate for her that I will get over to her. I'll mail it over to her. But I just wanted to thank both April and Neil for all their dedication and service on the Library Advisory Board over the last about 8 years, I believe it was, and just the contributions they made to the Citrus County Library System, helping us grow. Many of the things that we're talking about today, or going to be talking about a little bit later about renovation, fundraising, they were key members in helping get those projects started from the ground up. So many of the things that they had helped work through, we are seeing that come to light now, and I'm very thankful for their hard work and dedication. I know in addition to being on the advisory board as volunteers, they're also friends of the library. They volunteer for book sales. They're instrumental in a lot of things that help support and build up our libraries. So I do want to thank them for that. And additionally, just personally, my first year as library director, both April and Neil were chair and vice chair of the advisory board. And I just appreciate from both of you just the conversation, sharing of knowledge, and just support that you gave me as I was starting on this new role. So thank you. So I'm just going to give them their certificates real quick.
Yes.
And if you want to come up, I can give you one.
I was gonna say, please tell me somebody's gonna take a picture. Yeah, you go.
Taylor's got the picture.
All right, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And though she may be small, these are big shoes to fill. Yes. Yeah. So next item, report of officers and standing work groups. Do we have any reports? Nope. And Mr. Jones needed a break, so he will be back in just a moment. Next, regular business, director's report. We'll move right on into that.
Okay. All right. So for the director's report, I'll just keep it pretty brief with some of this. Last Thursday at our library system, we held our Citizens Academy. We were part of the Citizens Academy program for the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners. And we had a great turnout for that. There was probably about 20 people in attendance. And it's nice to see that that program is back pretty much to full force. And we had a great session with everybody, showing them all the different things that we do within libraries. A lot of people, when they attend our session, they don't realize it's going to be a full 4 hours. It's about a half a day for them. They come in thinking, okay, the library, we know everything about this. They check out books. They have various programs. They read to kids, that sort of thing. But they leave taking a lot with them as far as all the different program and services and things that we offer the community. So we receive a lot of very positive comments and kind of open people up to all the different things that our library does offer for them. Many people who have lived here for decades don't realize all the different services that the library is able to provide the community. So I'm always appreciative of being able to have that session and have staff kind of get to highlight and show off what they do. Other things real briefly with renovation. I hope to bring forward at the next meeting, I'll have, if I can put together more of a presentation for you all, just to show you some of the things that are going on at Lakes Region now. A lot of the construction is starting to happen. If any of you had a chance to be over there in the last couple weeks, you'll see that we now have a meeting room that's been built. We have 2 study rooms that are pretty much complete minus flooring. We're having all the ceiling tiles changed out, so they'll all match and they'll all be new. And then all the lighting is being upgraded to LED lighting. So that's underway right now. And we're scheduled to start painting on Monday.
Very cool.
And then we should be doing carpet in May at some point in there as well. So I hope to have a lot more to show you all once we get some of those things rolling.
Okay.
Yep. And then the last thing I have for you is in front of you, there should be a packet of statistics. I like to present these at each meeting to give you an idea of how the library is trending and the different things we're doing. So with this packet, it's just a short 3-page packet. I just want to point out that we have a phenomenal staff that help put all of this stuff together. Everything that you're going to see in this packet is a product of all of the work that our staff do. First off, you're going to see library cards. We have increased the number of library cards issued from the last couple years. You can see this is a 3-year trend for the first 6 months of our fiscal year, so it doesn't include the remainder of the year. You can expect these numbers to probably double by the end of the year. But we're up about 36% of library cards since 2022, so we're definitely trending in the right direction with that. Materials available, you'll see this year we've added about 8,000 materials to our library's collection. That's always a good thing to see when your collection grows rather than shrink, so we're in a very good place with our book budget, being able to buy more materials to support the interests of our community. And kind of leading into that one on the second page, you can see that circulation is increasing as well. So since 2022, circulation has increased by almost 18%. That's in part by all those different materials that we're buying, grabbing some additional digital materials, which you'll see in the bottom graph there. It lists all of the physical and then digital is at the top there. We're investing a lot into digital materials because we know there's a big trend in people being interested in having access, that instant access on Sundays, things like that. But we are still buying heavily in the physical collection as well. We're not decreasing that, we're just adding to the digital side. And then on the last page, just to go over this, so we've increased the number of programs that we offer. This is entirely staff-driven. They've added about 10% more programs over the last year. And then that's added about 26% increase in attendance. So they've definitely added more programs, but it's what the public are interested in, what our community is looking for, because we are seeing that attendance grow pretty rapidly. And then the bottom one there is just youth programming attendance. You can see that programming attendance just continues to just go up. So our youth librarians are doing a phenomenal job about getting the right kind of programming in that's engaging kids and encouraging them to come out and visit our libraries on a regular basis. So we're very proud of these things. Just wanted to share those with you.
Adam, I'd like to make a comment. I've been to each of the libraries, and one of the things that I focus on is the youth programming area. In each one of our libraries, the youth area, I think, is excellent. And the programs that I have seen are really very, very good. And thanks to you and the entire staff for making that happen.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, is that it? Thank you. Now, library public relations update. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's right. That's what I got up here.
That's right, yes. Debbie and Renee both gave me their time today, so unfortunately for all of you, I'm anything but brief.
Well, let's
I'll
keep
try,
with the
though.
spirit.
I'll try, though. All right, so on Adam's note about the Lakes Region renovation, I will say that we do have a page that has been updated continuously on our website. It's on the homepage. That has pictures and different portions of the updates. So if you aren't able to make it over to Lakes Region to kind of view some of the updates that have been going on in the last few months, there are pictures and things available online for you to see, so that you can feel like you're part of the update and renovation process.
Yeah.
Even if you're not there getting your shoes all dusty like everybody else. That's fine. On the statistics side, I did just want to let you know that in the beginning of April, during National Library Week, we launched our own version of the Big Library Read. So for the last few years, Libby, through Overdrive, has done a couple of different books a year as part of a promotion that they call Big Library Read, where that title is available for checkout with no holds and no wait lists for 2 weeks. And so we have noticed an increase in the last couple of years with the number of checkouts that are happening through that program, and we decided to start our own called Citrus Reads. And so the title that we launched on Sunday, April 7th was Keeper of Stories. We thought it was appropriate for National Library Week to have a book that talked about stories. And so I just got the checkout number this morning. We are at more than 230 checkouts, which is double what we normally see in our Big Library Read promotion. So we are very excited, and we are definitely seeing that trending of digital checkouts are very, very quickly gaining popularity within our library system. This past Saturday, we celebrated our volunteers at our annual Volunteer Appreciation and Awards event. Some of you who were not able to attend, you do have your coffee mugs in front of you. So that was the gift that we gave to all of our volunteers this year. We had more than 100 of our volunteers in attendance, and those could be our branch volunteers, friends of the library, and of course you all as Library Advisory Board members who also volunteer your time for us. And so we were able to celebrate them. We have more than 200 volunteers who are regularly working within our libraries throughout the year. And I believe Adam gave a number that last year volunteers gave more than 12,000 hours to our library system, which is a phenomenal amount of time and dedication that we appreciate. And a coffee mug and breakfast really does not always show the amount of gratitude we have, but it's a start within that. So we were very excited to celebrate with them. At the end of March and the beginning of April, we had our 2 semi-annual book sales for the spring. So our Friends of the Citrus County Library System held their mega sale, and then the Homosassa Friends held their sale. And between the 2 of them, they raised more than $35,000, which will all be donated back to the library in some way, shape, or form. The bulk of it does come back to us through the collection, but they are also holding on to funds to help with programming and different projects throughout the year. So, and that could include, I know Homosassa Friends just helped with the purchase of new end caps, which they're really cool pieces that are, it's like a slat wall that is added to the end of the bookshelves to help kind of be used as display space. And I have additional display notes coming. So there's just all sorts of fun things that the Friends are always helping with, and we appreciate the community coming out and supporting the book sales as well. In front of you, you will see some of the promotional materials for our summer reading program. It's the very, very colorful pieces. The big piece is the calendar. So last year was the first year we did branch-specific promotional calendars for each of our libraries. And so on that calendar, it shows the months of June and July. Our summer reading program kicks off on June 1st and will run through July, I believe it's the 18th. It's the last Thursday that's printed on the calendar. And so each branch has a branch-specific calendar that shows when all of their weekly programming is. It covers the summer reading program for our school-age children, as well as includes all of the story times for the littles, because we know that if parents are there, they just want to see everything the library is offering for kids of all ages at one quick glance. You will also see that from some feedback from both staff and patrons that we have added an abundance of Saturday programming. So there is a program every Saturday in the month of June. And so those are on every calendar, regardless of what branch they're being held at. You'll see that our kickoff celebration is being held at the Central Ridge Library this year, and it is going to be quite the event. We're planning a block party type style event for the kids and the families to come in. We'll have the fire department there. The sheriff's office will be there, and they'll both be bringing vehicles in. The Touch a Truck events that we did last summer were very, very popular, very well attended, and so we're bringing those back on a slightly smaller scale. But we will have other partner entities coming out as well, including the Citrus County Mosquito Control, Parks and Recreation, as well as the Supervisor of Elections Office, just all sorts of different activities and things for the kids to have. We have some additionals that are finalizing their schedules and their calendars, but we'll have those. There will be activities that the library staff themselves are running. We'll have one of our story walks out in the back. So pretty much it will be chaos on that Saturday. There will be kids and families everywhere, which is exactly what we want to kick off our summer. So every branch has its own calendar. If you are closer to another location, I do have all of those branch calendars here with me, and if you would like another branch's calendar, I'm happy to give it to you. I just handed you the Central Ridge one for today so that you could get an idea of what's going on. The second piece is what we call our rack card. And so that is just the quick promotional piece that we are actually working with the schools right now to send out to all of the elementary schools through our public schools. So that's all 11 of them, as well as 6 private schools in our county. And so with that, we're going to hit about 8,000 students in the K-5 range who will get these cards. The youth librarians will be working in the first week of May to kind of get these out into the schools to be sent home so that families are aware of what's going on for the summer. It's just a quick little snippet. On the back, it gives some of the information about what's going on. It has a QR code that directs them to our website because as we learned during COVID, printing anything could always lead to changes, and so I'm always hesitant to print massive pieces of dates and times and content and information because things could change at the drop of a hat. So a QR code to our website is the easiest way to get that information out to people, but that is there for you as well. And so all of these materials will actually be out and available in our libraries on May 1st, or within that May 1st through May 3rd kind of time frame for families to start picking up. And we are very excited to hopefully hear from families that they are putting these calendars on their refrigerators to be able to come spend their summer with us at the library. All right, so the last thing I have here for you is the displays list. This looks a little bit different than what we've handed you in the past. In the past, it has been a very large, very overwhelming spreadsheet of information. Trust me, it is just as overwhelming for me to see that entire file. Like, you guys just get the snapshot of it. So we've condensed it even more just to make it easily readable. At the last Library Advisory Board meeting, Adam mentioned that we are kind of restructuring how we're doing our displays to add for more consistency across our branches. So you will see that at the top it talks about permanent displays, and as we spoke about at the last meeting, it goes through recently returned books. So if a book is returned in our book drop and it's not being scanned and is on hold for someone, that could be added to our recently returned display. We have our new books displays, which are always the red dot books. You'll know which ones those are with the little red dot on the spine. Our Friends books, those are the blue dot books. And so those are books that would have been donated with the Friends funds that come from our book sales. And then the fourth display is a rotating monthly nonfiction display. So you'll see here all of the different topics. I know, it's a mouthful. So January is self-help, February is Black History Month, March is Women's History Month, April focuses on Gardening and Earth Day. So if you see gardening displays out in all of the branches right now, that is why. So we have lots of gardening books. It's a very popular hobby around here. May is Summer Cooking, June is Travel, July is U.S. History, August is Financial Literacy, September is True Crime. Also a very popular topic of checkouts in our library system. People are always looking for always looking for the serial killer books, as they call them, which is highly, highly entertaining as well. October is arts and crafts, November is military history, and then December is baking. And so you'll see those displays at all 5 of our branches on a rotating monthly basis. And then our youth room will also have permanent displays as well. And their main one, just due to kind of a lack of space in those rooms, as some of you have said, if you've been in our branches, you know that our youth rooms have a lot of books, but we also like to have a lot of space available for those big programs and activities for our kiddos. So not as much display space, and those are going to be new books. So a lot of the new books, again, are going to have those red dots on them, and that's what will be displayed in there. We are also still giving staff the opportunity to create their own monthly displays and have those opportunities to find some other displays that are of monthly importance depending on what's going on. So you'll see the July, August, and September displays. And these could be found at multiple branches or at just one branch. So Adventure Begins at Your Library is our summer reading program theme. And so a lot of the artwork that we've been given for this year is camping and mountain climbing and hiking. And so if you think of adventure, those are going to be the types of books that are on those displays. National Moon Day is in July, so there's a couple of libraries that are doing moon-themed displays. Survive Shark Week, so Discovery Channel does their weekly week about sharks every year, and there's 1 or 2 displays. Summer Reads, pretty much if there's a beach scene on the cover, I think that's going to depict summer reads for you, and then Americana books. August, we have National Golf Month, National Book Lovers Day. We love Memoirs Day, so biographies, we have a lot of those. Celebrate Elvis Week. When Science Meets Fiction, it's really just sci-fi. More Beach Reads, Lighthouse Day, Sci-Fi and C4Con, Dog Days of Summer, Beat the Heat, and Stay In and Craft. September, we have C4Con. So for those of you who know, we'll start talking about that more at the next couple of meetings. C4Con is our Citrus County Comics and Cosplay Convention. There we go. I got all of the C's there. So that's happening in September on the 14th. And so there will be promotional displays with graphic novels, comics, that type of thing out at our branches. September starts National Hispanic Heritage Month, is Library Card Sign-Up Month, Cozy Reads, Happy Birthday to the King of Horror, Stephen King, and Happy Birthday to J.R.R. Tolkien. So the name of that book display is Kings and Rings. I was very impressed with the creativity on that one. Leave Me Alone, I'm reading, and then National Honey Month, which, if I'm correct, the branch that's doing National Honey Month will have a beekeeper coming in to talk about honey and beekeeping, so I'm pretty excited to see that program.
That's awesome.
And then our youth room will also have some rotating displays going through them. So Adventure Begins at Your Library, of course, for July, Independence Day, Jungle Animals. There's a couple of different safari-themed things. That's one of the programs for our summer reading program. Famous Explorers, Pirate Adventures, and Summer Fun. August, we have National Joke Day, Summer Activities, Back to the Basics and Back to School, Dog Days of Summer, and Wild Weather. And then September, Summer Hibernation, animals that hibernate during the summer, School Stories, Autumn Harvest, It's a Mystery, Mad About Science, Talk Like a Pirate Day, and then more for Library Card Sign-Up Month. So some of those months that look like they may be shorter, it's because a lot of those branches are doing similar types of displays, so I just kind of grouped them all together there for you. But, okay, I think I covered everything. Does anybody have questions?
Yes, I do.
Yes, ma'am.
We start with July. What are we doing for June? That wasn't on any of this.
It was, we go by quarters, so
Okay.
April, May, June would have been at the previous meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But if you would like, we can get those sets of programs and displays there for you for June.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I would like all of the kids' calendars. And I think this is, as a mom, grandma, great-grandma, this can go on grandma's, so grandma can pick up kids to take them. She can see. So I'm going to staple all 4 of them together because this is good day trips. Go ahead and go over to the Springs and then make sure you hit this or vice versa. So kudos. The color, step, look, fast. This is a winner, game changer.
It is a labor of love, that is for sure. I think the youth librarians were not excited anytime I sent out emails before those went to print, because I was very frantically saying, okay, this is your last chance. If you're changing a program, now this is it.
Yeah.
because once it goes to print, we're done. Like you can't change anything, you can't move anything else. You're there.
It's
But
excellent, 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 excellent.
thank you. We got great reviews from it last year.
Me too, one from every library.
I would be happy to get you one.
Also, you haven't said anything about how the Canopy program is going.
It is going really, really well. I believe we have already hit kind of our target goal number for checkouts, or we're very close to it. Are we halfway there? Okay.
We have 2,100.
We're close. 4,000, I believe, was the goal. But for being halfway there at only about 3 months into it, like, we're very happy with those numbers. And we just added documentaries. Is a sixth, seventh. It's the additional package that has been added. So if you like documentaries, those are now also there for you to watch.
How often does new editions come through on there?
I am not sure on that one. I believe it's like we've been told it's supposed to be close to quarterly. You may be seeing new titles, but again, we are at kind of that 3-month quarterly mark. So we are learning how quickly those will be replenished, just like you guys are.
Taylor,
Yes,
do you print these in-house?
Oh no, I send those to a printer.
Okay.
I think our tech team would be not thrilled with the amount of toner I was using, more than they already are not thrilled with the amount of toner that I use. I am widely known as the person who prints the most in the library system.
Do you design them?
Yes,
All
yes. It is a team effort to design those, but yes.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Good job.
Very.
Anyone else? Questions? Anything? All right. I tried to keep it brief for you.
Yeah. Thank you. So that was F2 and F3, I would assume.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Old business, I don't see any old business. New business, we moved the U.S. Family Foundation overview to the beginning, or shortly thereafter. And so just everyone recall what was said by Johnny Cash. All right, we have that on. I know that there's been a lot since then. So next, we're going to move to presentation of coastal regions renovations funding, and then vote. Director Chang?
Okay. One thing I forgot to mention in my update, just a quick announcement, and Lenore, if you want to jump in on this as well. At the last meeting, there was some question about graphic novels. So Lenore and I, Lenore did most of this. She gathered probably 24 different graphic novels. There's a table in the back there of some of the graphic novels that we have at our libraries. And then this is just a collection of some of the graphic novels we have available for our kids. And it's a collection that we're growing because we're seeing a high level of interest in this. It's kind of retaking some of the classics like Boxcar Children, Magic Tree House, Hardy Boys, and kind of reimagining them in this graphic novel format, in addition to some of the other kind of graphic novels we've got.
Can't leave out Don Quixote.
You know, hundreds of different titles.
Yes. We did bring a display in the back because there's just such wide variety, and really working a lot with a lot of students this year in tutoring. Things from the Cold War, I Survived, those sets of books, to Magic Tree House, and within a couple months' time, when I brought these different kids to the library and showed them the graphic novels, it's all of a sudden, can we go back next week? Can we go back next week? And the parents are like, they've went through like 8 and 10 books this month. What? How did you change that? And I'm like, you have to find what they want, you know, and exposing just a wide variety. And then having the extra opportunity of teaching those children to go on a regular computer at home and look at the books they read and see. One of them was the Tuttle Twins that teach a lot of life lessons about economics and things. They've now put out graphic novels. And we have, you know, Tom Sawyer. So you're getting all of them. Then you have Learning to Read. You know, I mean, it's not what we were used to seeing Marvel comics.
Yeah.
And they still have those Marvel comics, but it's just so much more now.
My kids love them, I know that.
I have a question. Being new to the graphic things, graphic novels also may have other genres because manga
Yes.
is considered what, and that reads backwards, and those didn't.
Yeah, it's just another form of graphic novel.
Okay, so there's different levels, sectors.
Yes.
Okay.
Remember, graphics are what you pick up pictures.
Yeah.
Right, thinking about making a graphic to see. So these are stories that have been changed to a format of
Yeah.
like what we would say comic book, where it is and it's been very good with teaching children how to summarize and put it in there, like, because it's not the whole book, it's a summary of the book and how they break it down to depict it in words and the graphics. So
It's like
it goes-
modernizing it, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
But now
A
is-
lot of these kids need those pictures now because they're used to having an iPad in school all day, every day. They're
Right.
used to having all of these things. It's a
New way
good
of
question.
reading. But the manga, the manga that
There's
I
some in
see-
the back.
Okay. How popular are those?
They were very, very popular. They aren't as much now because there's such a wide range of things,
Okay.
and they are because of the culture that they come from. They are back to front,
They're weird.
but they are black and white usually as well. They're not colored as many.
So, after the meeting, there's a display in the back. We can check that out, and then I assume we can look at those. And I have plenty to look at the house because my kids love them. That is the truth. All right.
Okay, sorry about that, but
Nope.
I wouldn't forget that one because we have the
Thank you,
displays back
Adam.
there.
I wasn't going to forget. I was going to do that but it's all good.
Okay. All right, so presentation on the coastal region renovation funding and vote. So at meetings last year, we talked about the renovation of the Lakes Region Library, and we got that started with a $300,000 withdrawal from the U.S. Family Foundation Fund from you all, and it was matched by the county another $300,000. So we had $600,000 in total to renovate that building. But in doing so, kind of the goal is to look at a timeline of when can we renovate our buildings, what needs to be done as far as renovation. So the Lakes Region Library is 37 years old. The Coastal Region Library was opened pretty much at the exact same time. It's the exact same building. It is also 37 years old. And it is in need of many of those same upgrades that we have over at Lakes Region. Additional meeting space, study rooms, it needs a new carpet, it needs new paint, it needs new electrical upgrades. The way that people have used our libraries over the last decade, last 15 years, certainly post-COVID, has changed and created a shift in, again, how people want to interact with our library. They're not necessarily coming in and using our computers as much anymore. They're connecting with their own devices this time, so now they need places to plug in and charge. So at Lakes Region, we've added different seating where you can plug directly into the seating now instead of having to go hunt for a table that's close to a wall outlet. We're upgrading the Wi-Fi, things like that, to make sure that we're addressing those needs that people have. That's kind of what the meeting space and study rooms also add to as well. Now people are wanting to use those spaces for their community groups, but they're also wanting to come in and maybe do job interviews virtually. They're doing telehealth visits. All those kind of things facilitate the need for dedicated private kind of meeting spaces. So those are some of the things that we'll be looking to do at the Coastal Region Library. And as Johnny Cash had mentioned, the idea for this funding or this partnership fund that was created was to be able to shift some of that burden off of the taxpayer to be able to grow our libraries and update them and use an external funding source like this. So what I'm hoping today, if we can have more of a discussion on, if anyone has questions about that, but it's to start the process of being able to renovate the Coastal Region Library. The county, Board of County Commissioners is meeting this afternoon, and one of the projects they're discussing, or one of the things they're discussing, is the remaining use of the ARPA funds that they have. And one of the items up for discussion is the Coastal Region Library renovation. They haven't approved that funding yet. That will hopefully happen at today's meeting. But there's a catch to the funding that the county has. That money has to be encumbered or spent by the end of the year. So our project for the Coastal Region Library is pretty much ready to go because we've done so much work already ahead of time through the Lakes Region Library. We can take almost the same model and it transfers over. So we're pretty much ready to go with this project. It'll just be a case of securing the funding $300,000 from this board, and then the other $300,000 from the county later today.
All right, so basically, let me just kind of explain our role in that, if I can. And Director Chang, if I get off, you can pull me back on that. As the board, we not only advise the county commission with regards to the library, and again, that is our capacity in that case, is we are an advisory board, but we also have the authority over the funds for the U.S. Family Foundation. It is up to us to vote as to whether we disperse those funds or not, okay? And traditionally, those funds have been used for projects like this, things that aren't necessarily in the budget, so to speak. And what we did with the Lakes region was we actually took and matched the funding that the county was preparing. So the county funded $300,000. We matched it with $300,000 from this fund that we have a total of, way back. Yeah, it's like 572, I thought, 530, 708. So we have that in there. And there is an item after this to talk about replenishing those funds in addition. But before we get to that, so we actually have to bring this to a formal vote. And the way that works is we would have to have a motion, a second, then it opens up for discussion. Or actually, do we have to go to open to public on that?
I'm not entirely sure with that process. Typically they do. Once you have a motion and a second, typically there is a
Open to
portion of that,
public, and
yes.
then we have board discussion, that's
Yes.
right. Okay. So, anyways, that's how I understood it too, so.
Yep.
So, I am going to ask, do we have a motion? Well, first of all, let's go with we can do that in discussion, it's fine.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that we disperse $300,000 to be matched by the county for the renovation of Coastal Library.
I second that.
Chair, if I may, I have a kind of very specific motion.
Oh.
The wording of it, just to make sure that it's.
Okay, we'll read that.
So my suggestion for a motion for this would be a motion to withdraw $300,000 from the Citrus County Library District Partnership Fund to be sent to the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners, restricted to the improvements of the Coastal Region Library, pending approval of a $300,000 match from the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners.
I second.
I will adopt that motion, you can say.
I'll second. And just so and my apologies, the reason behind that is this is a charitable foundation. We have to actually request the funds in a legal manner that sounds very legal. Not, just we want the money. So, all right. So now it will open up for, we're not approving yet, but open for public on this motion. We do have a motion and a second, so we'll open for public as far as the funding for the U.S. Family Foundation. Anybody like to speak on for or against?
I think you should approve the motion so that the county can match the $300,000. The funds have been raised by the citizens, excuse me, of Citrus County and the Friends of the Library, Love Your Library, and other charitable gifts that people have given and bequeaths. So I think that you should all approve it, and I think it's good for the county, and I think most residents will be happy.
Thank you. No applause. All right. Anyone else? All right. So I'm going to close open to public. All right. Board discussion. Mr. Bramlett.
Is there a scope of work?
There is, yes. It will be the same that's at the Lakes Region Library. I can get you that information, or I can talk about it a little bit today if you have specific questions.
There is a scope of work.
There is, yes.
When do you anticipate sending it out to bid?
Well, the challenge with this, well, not really a challenge, I suppose. The difference with this project is a lot of it's managed in-house. We do work with some vendors and some contractors to do things like building the study rooms and the meeting spaces, but a lot of it is
County
me and library staff and other county workers working together with small vendors to be able to put certain pieces together.
How are the draws done? Is it 50-50 between us and the county, or does the county money come first and we're second?
So it is technically 50-50, but I will tell you with this one, because the county is on a deadline to spend that ARPA funding, if they provide that funding, I would look to spend that first before their deadline, and then we would start working through the funding that you all provide. But just to let you know, it will definitely use the $600,000, possibly exceed, but that will be supplemented with our library's budget if there's additional small pieces that we need.
And one last question. After the county draws down its funds, do our funds go into a separate account for this project?
Yes, they're going to be in two separate accounts designated just for library services, just for this renovation.
So it'll go out of the trust into an account for this project?
Yes, it'll be restricted just to the use of this project.
And who signs off on that?
The chair would have to sign that letter.
So if there is a draw on it, Justin and you sign?
No, only Justin would have to sign that as the chair. It would go to the U.S. Family Foundation, they would issue the check, and then it would get deposited into that account.
You get a request for payment
Yes.
from the general or a sub. Okay, who has to approve that?
As far as the work itself?
Who has to approve the work and who has to approve the payment?
Okay, so that goes through the county.
Okay.
We will issue the purchase order within the library services department. Then it goes through various stages through the county to approve and sign off on.
Thank you.
Mrs. Clyde?
I just want to know, like, how close are we to being done with this project before we start the other one? And how close would that end date be of completion to the timeline for the payment from the county to be observed?
Okay, so the current project over at Lakes Region, we are almost finished with it. It's only just now getting the work to be completed. So we've already got all the furniture selected. We've paid. We've got a purchase order issued for the furniture. We've got the electrical all done. The lighting is getting done as we speak. Painting is coming in April, and then carpet will follow. The last big hurdle there is updating the restrooms, which I've opted to do last, because we've tried to do this whole renovation without closing the building, so people don't lose access to their library. But unfortunately, with that piece of entryway to Lakes Region, we're probably gonna have to close a little bit of time to be able to redo the tile there and replace all the bathroom fixtures. My hope is to be done early August. And the reason why that's the target for me is because summer reading is coming up starting June 1st, and I don't want to disrupt summer reading.
Yeah.
So if I have to delay it a little bit so we don't lose any momentum with encouraging kids to read, I think it's a worthwhile delay of a couple weeks.
And when is the payment cut off for the county to do the $300,000 match?
So they're going to make that decision today at the BOCC meeting at 1 o'clock. Whether or not they provide that $300,000, they'll have a discussion today to make that determination. So we'll know hopefully by the end of today.
So this disbursement is contingent on their decision today. Is that correct? Should we have a clause in there when you make your motion?
Yep, it's pending the approval of the $300,000 match. That's in the motion.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
No comment.
Okay. I would, so they've done a really excellent job with Lakes Region. Question is, how are we doing on budget with Lakes Region? Can you speak to that?
Yep. So budget, we expended most of the $600,000. Kind of encumbered it, not necessarily paid it out with like the furniture. The furniture for the renovation project was just under $200,000. So it ate up a large chunk of that, and then we've spent out for painting. We've got the carpet already ordered. It's being stored off-site, but we have spent a majority of that money. And I didn't mention before, I mentioned the budget does supplement a little bit of this. So if there's pieces that we need, like extra tables and chairs, we can buy that throughout the library's budget. But the Friends of the Library do have funding set aside that supplements this as well. So any other pieces that we need, the Friends of the Library have been saving for years for this kind of project. And I'm confident they'll support any other additional sources that we need for that.
Okay.
I use the Coastal Region Library, so I am thrilled for you to start. And I'm thrilled that we were not the first, so I trust that you've worked out all the kinks and you know what not to do or to do. And so I look forward to that getting started. So I am definitely behind this motion.
I have nothing to add.
So when is Coastal gonna start?
It can, honestly, it can start as soon as as those checks are ready, that we can start issuing purchase orders against them. Probably the physical work won't start for several months.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because that won't interfere with the summer reading program either.
No.
So we're looking more towards finishing that one, Lakes in
Yes.
August, and starting the other one in August at the same time.
Yes, but what I'd be looking to do is getting in touch and going out to bid for painting, getting carpet kind of set out to bid, and then starting a conversation about mapping the building for furniture. Those kind of pieces can start, but it won't actually be the physical construction. As Lorraine mentioned, not going first is helpful, because
Yes.
we've gone through a lot of process with this first renovation with Lakes Region. My initial estimate was I could be done in February. I think I've told you all that, and I've amended that timeline a few times just because there's a lot of paperwork that's involved, and there's deadlines that you have to hit before you can issue something. So sometimes it has to go out to bid for 30 days. Sometimes it needs board approval, so I have to wait for the next board meeting and hope I haven't missed a deadline somewhere there. So I anticipate much smoother process through Coastal, but it is going to require a few adjustments, because one of the things we're looking at there is, because it's the coastal region area and there is potential flooding there, we're going to look at what kind of moisture protection we need to provide in like the carpet and flooring and those sorts of things. So there's going to be a lot of behind the scenes things there.
That's awesome. You're doing an awesome job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Friends of the Library, for helping with Lakes Region finishing it.
All right. Just so you understand, applause is okay, except for in public comment. All right. Booze, not so much, but anyways.
We need a vote.
Yes. Construction always takes longer than you anticipate, so
Yes.
you are no exception, I promise. All right, we do need a vote. Can you read the motion just real quick as it has been presented?
Sure. It was a motion to withdraw $300,000 from the Citrus County Library District Partnership Fund to be sent to the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners, restricted to the improvements of the Coastal Region Library, pending approval of a $300,000 match from the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? No?
Do you need a roll call vote on this?
No. You just simple,
Okay.
voice vote will be fine. All right. Next, H3 fundraising project. So now that we have withdrawn $300,000, now we're going to talk about how we're going to put money back. All right. So traditionally, as Mr. Cash mentioned, this is kind of a conglomerate of fundraising activities that this money is put into this foundation. It's somewhat of a storehouse, if you will, for the library that is in addition to the budget. And one of those is Love Your Library events. As the former chair, Mrs. April, said that we have done that in the past, and for the last 3 years or 4 years, that has not been the case. So now we need to get back on the roll, or get back on the ball, rather, for fundraising. Now, there's been some talk over different ideas as to how we will do this or how we should do this. I think this is definitely one of those moments where I believe group discussion is so important. It's one of the hard things about Sunshine Law is that we all cannot discuss these things with one another except for in this setting. So one of the provisions that allows us to discuss some of those things is that we do have the capabilities of forming a committee. And that committee can actually oversee this, and the committee itself is not governed by Sunshine Law. They just, if there's more than one board member on there, then that's one thing. But they can actually come back and report to the board as to what the committee has discussed, ideas, challenges, all of those different things. And to my knowledge, help me, Director Chang, the committee does not have to consist of only the board.
Correct. It would most likely be a board member.
One board member.
Yep, myself, and then we can pull in some additional volunteers as needed, the Friends of the Library, things like that, community members.
And so I have some ideas of who that committee member chair would be, but is there anyone in here of the advisory board that would be interested in serving on that committee? Wow, Mr. Bramlett.
Not as the chairperson.
Well, understood. And I think Director Chang, you could kind of serve. It wouldn't really be a chair. I mean, because it's a committee. So
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I would be willing to work with whoever as far as who gets selected to be that person. We can work together and find the necessary support to be able to move things forward.
Is April going to also be involved?
Hope so.
There's no chair. So this is a free for all. You can applaud all you want in the committee. You can do whatever, Mr. Bramlett, with all honesty, you were the person that I was thinking of. I think you would serve the best as kind of spearheading this. You have mentioned that you have some experience in fundraising in events like this. From what I can tell, you have a wonderful fiscal mind. I think you pay attention to details. And I would feel comfortable personally with you being an integral part. Okay. An integral involvement in that. And if you're willing to do that, that would be wonderful. We can talk about the details of that at a later time. Would that be appropriate?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to make a motion to form a committee that would oversee fundraising projects, future fundraising projects, to advance the vision, the mission of the Library Advisory Board with regards to fundraising, and specifically to funding the U.S. Family Foundation on our behalf. And within that motion, I would ask that Mr. Bramlett would serve on that board, as well as volunteers, conglomerate of people for that committee, rather, to be determined by Mr. Bramlett and Mr. Chang. We have a second?
I second.
What? We have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do we need public discussion on that? I don't think so.
I have only one question.
Yes.
Is, would it not be beneficial if we got at least one member from every one of the friends groups so that they can go back and get input from their own friends groups from each library?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's multiple friends groups.
Yeah, and if we got a volunteer from each one of those friends groups.
Chair?
I would say that's it.
I do have regular meetings with the Friends presidents, and we
Okay.
can certainly discuss, whatever happens at this meeting, we can discuss starting getting that ball rolling with them to get representation from all, because, replenishing this fund, we got Lakes done, we're gonna go ahead and move forward with Coastal, but next on our list has to be Central Ridge and looking at for the future, so
Right.
it does benefit to get everyone involved, because eventually it's gonna be that library location's turn to get renovation.
Right. I agree.
Yes.
Great recommendation. Anyone else? We do have board discussion on this. So, anyone have any discussion with regards to that? All right. All in favor? Aye.
I'll abstain.
I don't think it much matters. All right. Okay. Board member updates. All right. We'll begin with Mr. Bramlett and move on.
I think I made my comments about visits in youth areas, which are excellent in each of the libraries.
Yes. Mrs. Klein?
I just have a question. So are we out of like 2 library advisory board members on the next meeting? Is that what you were saying earlier?
At least 2 that have contacted me, yes, that weren't gonna be available at the June meeting.
So 2 today and 2 next time. But yet we still have a quorum.
Correct. Yes.
So we're good. We
Yes.
can operate without them.
as long as that is all that doesn't
Right.
show.
Yeah,
So,
please show up.
You're right. Otherwise, we're going somewhere for coffee. All right, thank you. Mr. Jones?
Only that we had raised, our net was a little over $6,200
Yes.
on the book sale. And we've already spent a little over $10,000 for the end caps for the children's zone, as well as new carpeting for our community room.
Very cool. So, yeah, you can applaud that. That's fine. I would say I had the privilege of on a Friday evening, and I don't even remember the date any longer. I was volunteering, and it was Director Chang and I back there in the holding portion, and we were more just the gophers, if we're honest, right? And he and I both had all these ideas, wonderful ideas, how to change everything up, and then we were quickly
Changing your mind.
told why that would not work. And we found out that would not work. So, you know, they have a well-oiled machine, and it was a lot of fun, I would say. I did have fun. I enjoyed meeting all the different people, working with all the different volunteers, and really just seeing the amount of people that show up to that book sale. You know, people that being in this community for as long as my family's been, I know a lot of people. And I was like, "You're here? I didn't even know you could read." You know, I mean, it was quite special. So I encourage all of the board members, if you do have an opportunity at any one of the book sales, to volunteer or at least just visit. I would highly recommend it.
Totally agree. Book sales, lots of fun. I enjoy it a lot. It's very interesting to see what kinds of things people read, and it's just, I like it very much. The only other comment I have is, Adam, I would really like a copy emailed to me or whatever on Johnny Cash's presentation.
Okay, yeah, we will include this in the minutes, but I'll get that to you as well. I'll get that to you today.
Thank you.
I'll send it to all of you.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Reagan?
The only comment I have, I went on Saturday to the Volunteer Appreciations Award ceremony. I couldn't believe the number of volunteers that were there. It was really a great presentation.
Yes, Mrs. Nelson?
I am so excited about Lakes Region because, as a lot of you know, I'm a teacher and taking care of my parents, so I'm not working full-time. And one of the drawbacks is I have nowhere to tutor except for to go to their home. And now in Inverness, I will have someplace to tutor. And so, and library previously come from having big rooms like that. It was like, wow, this is back to getting with the pace, and I'm just so excited.
Very cool.
Yes, very much so.
All right. Well, that is it on board member updates. Next meeting is June the 25th, and hopefully we do have a quorum. Bar anything crazy, I plan to be here, and we hope to see you all there. And do we have a motion for adjourn?
So moved.
Amen.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Amen.
I'm with you. Glory, hallelujah. All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you.